This session is brought to you by Define You's Move Retreat.
I wrote the story with no intent to publish it. I was just at the time just writing as a form of escape from what I was dealing with. But after I was caring for my mother. She passed away. So then afterwards, I had a series.
Welcome to Define You Radio. Class is in session each week with guests who didn't let their past define them and have found a way to define themselves in life, money, and business. Pens and papers ready. Class is now in session with your host, Valencia Griffin-Wallace. Hey, kings and queens, welcome to Define You Radio. Classes in session. I'm your host, Valencia Griffin-Wallace, and in today's session, we're discussing creativity and faith-based writing with the fabulous author, Queen J.C. Miller. Pens and papers ready. Let's go ahead and welcome J.C. to the show. Hey, hon.
Hi, thank you so much for the amazing introduction. I almost didn't recognize myself. J.C. Miller.
Well, a woman like you deserves such a fabulous introduction because I'm really intrigued by like your story, what you have coming out, and I can't wait to kind of delve into it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I enjoyed writing it.
Yay. So let's give me a little background about you. How did you start writing?
Wow. Well, I started writing a very long time ago. I too was a child writer and I picked it up in school. But prior to that, I was just telling stories to my younger sibling at night. When it was time to go to bed, we would sit up and tell each other stories. And he liked my stories. And I made an entire series just at night with him. And then in school, the teachers started appreciating my writing and putting me into contests. And it just grew from there. Back then we had the typewriters, so I loved the idea of creating a whole story from front to end.
I miss typewriters, and I also miss the two spaces behind the period.
Yeah. What happened to those?
I don't know, but I had a conversation with a millennial, and they thought it was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that, why they don't do it, but I find myself still doing that, and they'll just edit that right out.
Right. Mm-hmm. But I do miss typewriters, so I will say that. It seems like the creativity flowed easier.
Yes,
when you type.
Like that sound that gets you right in your groove, right?
Yes, ma'am.
They need to add that app. You might need to create that.
A typewriter app? Because, millennials, because my son is a millennial, They don't know how to type.
They don't. They do the thumb thing.
I just want to throw that out there. Millennials, I love y'all. I've given birth to one of y'all, but come on now, 4 fingers and 2 thumbs on the space bar.
But it's their world, girl. It's their world. So we, like my grandmother used to say, we just passing through now.
I love that. Now, what exactly is a faith-based literary artist?
Ooh, it sounds so wonderful. A faith-based writer. I choose in my writing to include scripture and to include the love of Jesus Christ. It's not very or overly religious. So I did not want to say that I'm a Christian fiction writer because they're guidelines, and my stories, because I try to create them and make them real and use real language and use real situations. It does not fit in the category of a Christian fiction writer. So I kind of dubbed or maybe I might have found or saw someone else put that, a faith-based and a literary artist, is because I'm an author, but I'm an artist. I love to create pictures in your mind while you're reading.
Yeah. I didn't know and never really thought about like the difference between like Christian literature versus faith-based.
Yeah. There are guidelines. Now, if I were to try to get my book approved in some Christian fiction genre, as far as going through established publication companies, I would have to fit into the guidelines, and they're very strict with what they choose. So, you may, if you cuss, or if you maybe have some sexual content, it all has to be filtered.
Okay, but if you do faith-based, can you cuss?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because Christians cuss, and so maybe they need to, at least this Christian has said a word or two.
A word or two. You have children today. You're gonna cuss every now and then, but it's not extreme. It's not extreme cursing, but I try to be realistic, and then I also try to be sensitive toward the Christian audience as well. But I want to paint a real picture. Yeah,
that's very interesting. So, did you find that out after you started writing, or
yes,
is that okay?
Did. Yeah, I did. I wrote the story with no intent to publish it. I was just at the time just writing as a form of escape from what I was dealing with. But after I was caring for my mother. She passed away. So then afterwards, I had a series, and I wanted to get it out there. So I started looking out into publication companies, and it was really hard. So I decided to just publish myself and join this wonderful world of indie writers and authors. I think it's amazing and it's awesome.
I agree. I agree.
We are a do-it-yourself generation,
and we're doing it well. And even bigger, quote unquote, bigger, well-known authors are publishing their own books.
Yeah, you can have some control over your stuff,
right? Because that's how you end up signing away your story. Because I mean, who reads the fine print these days?
Exactly. You're right. It's the truth, and writing, and as well as music as well. You write these things, you create these things, and then you sign them off and they take it away. Your gifts.
Pimp your purpose, like I say.
Yes, you did.
Letting people pimp your purpose. Exactly. Now, do you feel like writing faith-based books, do you feel like it limits your audience or bring other people in?
Yeah, that's the tough one, because it sort of does limit your audience. But I want to make it clear that it is a faith-based writing. It can be so many things. It's women's fiction, it's romance, it's coming of age, it's real life. I really hate all of these titles that they put upon us, but what it really is a book about life, right? It's not really faith-based or all of these different genres that they have, but it's just real life. But it does limit your audience, and so that's why I'm out here and I'm trying to push this thing and let everyone know it's for you. It's a book about life.
I think if people look at it that way, then it won't be so hard for people to read it. You know what I'm saying? Like even with if you look at any book, okay, especially the Bible, I
Right.
could tell a Bible story in a way that people would not know it was a Bible
Right.
story, if that makes
Exactly.
sense.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I have done. They are, or they were real people going through real problems and real situations, just like we are, but in their period. And a lot of times, the authors today, they take the stories, they write about them, but they put them in these periods that we know nothing about. And
Right.
they're with the long, fluffy, floppy dresses and the Victoria and all of these different ages. So what I did is I just made it more modern. I put it in the 80s and 90s era, something that I can flow with, and that could capture attention of people my age and younger, just to make it real. So
Mm.
I just took some of those Bible characters and I brought them into a modern uh, day era.
I love that. I was telling somebody, I was doing a show or something, and I said something about I need friends that will tear the roof off for me.
Ooh,
And I
yes.
and I said it in my Valencia way.
Right. Hmm.
And I was saying that's in the Bible.
It is.
And they were like, "What?" And I was telling them the story. Like, "Oh, I know the story." And my friend said, "Valencia, you're the only person I know that can make the Bible gangster." But but I said, but if you understand that, just like when I talk about Gideon, and I'm like, the Bible been telling us about thirsty people.
Uh-huh.
And then I bring in the story of Gideon, like, oh, I wouldn't have known that was in the Bible. I was like, look,
Listen.
that's why you got to read and understand it on your level.
Yeah, exactly. And that it is true. Read and understand in and on your level, and just bring it. My pastor, he's good at that too. He takes the stories and he makes them so that we understand. So we had the little boy sharing his he said sharing his happy meal of
Mm.
the nuggets, the fish nuggets, and just bring it to where we can understand how it looks,
I
because
think people just get put off by,
yeah,
in the world we live in, people get put off by Bible story.
right,
If you start off with that
right,
versus if you tell the story and then say, yeah, you could find it somewhere in the
exactly.
Bible.
Yes, and that's what I did. I told the story, and then at the end, I put where you can find it, where you can find it.
So I am Rahab. Who
Hmm.
is Rahab and what is this book about?
Awesome. Well, Rahab, which Rahab we're going to talk about? The biblical Rahab or my Rahab, because she's not that girl from Jericho.
Well, tell me what is the intersection between them? What's the same? What's different?
Okay. So we have Rahab, a young girl from Louisiana, and this is the Rahab I'm writing about, Rahab Auguste, and she is just a part of a dysfunctional family. And then we have Rahab the harlot, who was most likely part of a dysfunctional family too. She ended up in prostitution, and she was in this fortified city that was full of heathenism and adultery, and she wanted it out, and she'd heard about a great Hebrew people that were taking over all the other kingdoms around them, and they knew that their time was coming.
Mm.
So when she had or found the opportunity to escape and to be a part of these wonderful people that she'd heard about, that had and believed in a God that loved them so much that he led them, and that he handed them nations. She wanted to be a part of that. So when these two spies came into the city, she immediately called them up and invited them into her end, or her brothel, I call it. And she let them know that the country is afraid of you, and this is what you need to do. And she hid them, on the roof. And when the king's soldiers came looking for them, she lied. So Rahab was a liar. She was a dreamer. She was a prostitute. She was just like you and I. And that's kind of how the book came to me, in that she was a regular woman. And I wanted to know what was going on before the Bible story, what took place. And because after she hid the spies, she did tell them as well, when you come back, I want you to take me, and not only me, but my family back with you, because I've shown you kindness. And that's what they did. When they attacked the country, they spared Rahab and her family, and she lived amongst the Israelites. She married into the Israelites, and from her lineage came the birth of Jesus Christ. So, I mean, it really is an awesome story, and it's so short. It's a little it's a little nugget in the Bible, and I call them unsung heroes. But that is her story. So I just took that character and I made a girl from Louisiana, and I just gave her an extraordinary life and a dysfunctional family. And I don't want to give the whole story away,
Right.
but she ends up in the South Bronx, and she has to ultimately decide either to continue dancing with the devil or to take a leap of faith with the unknown, which is what Rahab the harlot had to do.
Interesting. So why did you choose Louisiana as her starting place, I'm guessing?
Okay, yes, it is her starting place. Well, when I was thinking about Jericho and the heathenism and all of these different things, I wanted to create something for her, like a foundation. So her family was into voodoo. So that's where New Orleans came from, in that area. She grew up around voodoo culture, and she had to come from somewhere. Yeah. So.
Well, I am a Southern Louisiana born, and yes, and currently live in Louisiana.
You do?
And yes, I actually am roughly about 20 minutes from New Orleans.
Nice.
In a little small town that you're not going to come to unless you live here.
I love those small towns.
Yes, I tell people, you live in the country, do business in the city. But even with New Orleans, besides, the voodoo, but just that whole looseness, freeness of Bourbon Street and of the culture of New Orleans, it's a very appropriate beginning.
Oh,
I love that. I love that.
Awesome.
Definitely can't wait to check it out, see how accurate,
I want you to read it and let me know, because I worked hard in that, and I guess I was led by the Holy Spirit on that.
Yeah, because it's definitely, even if you think about Mardi Gras and people that come down for Essence or whatever, people come to New Orleans to be free of their, what they call it, their inhibitions. We know tourists. Okay.
It's another one of those states. What happens there stays there.
Right, exactly. So what do you want your readers to take away from I Am Rahab?
I would like for them to take away that, number one, that the Bible is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And number two is that no matter where you come from, it's not where you are, it's where you're at. It's it's not who you were, doesn't matter. Who you are right now and who you're becoming, that's what counts.
And if people really kind of take their judgments out of any situation, because we could go through the Bible and find all kind of dramatics and prostitutes and murderers and everything else, if we take our judgments out of the situation, we can see our similarities.
We can. Those are the people that God used. You know,
Right.
he used the prostitutes, he used the alcoholic, he used the liars, and he used the carpenter, and this is how he works. So
Like I
stop
always said
judging,
that
don't judge.
I would have been, had I been alive during those times,
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have been it's on the tip of my tongue.
Hmm.
Um okay, so I'm thinking judges. Like I always tell my audience, I'm a Bible student, not scholar. But
Yes, me too.
with Deborah, and then the
Okay.
lady JL or something like that. I want to say it started with a J, that like gave the king some milk while he was hiding out and then stabbed him with the tent peg.
Ooh.
So I would have been, not, I'm not saying I'm a killer, but
No. Mm-hmm.
if y'all got that from their story, y'all not
No,
listening.
you're not listening.
Go back and read it. See what I say about the Bible? Just read it just for purposes of just knowing who killed who.
Right. And yeah, and that right, but you have to read it with an open mind and eye, and that's kind of how I came up with this story, because like I said, it is a short passage, but if you really stop to ask them questions, you can come up with the entire story.
Mm.
She specifically said to the spies, because I did this for you, I want you to take me with you, and not only me but my family. So she named them all: her mother, her father, her sisters, and and then I'm like, who were these people? Why did they let her get into prostitution?
Right,
Why, you
right.
know? Yeah. So I just, from my mind's eye and my understanding of the biblical content, I created a story.
I didn't even think about that, because I would have questions like, how did she end up a prostitute anyway?
Yeah, it was. Well, it was the era, and they had a
Right.
prostitute shrine. They gave the prostitutes to their gods, and they were for worship and all of these different things. And then there was also prostitution for money as well. So we don't know, which one she was, but she wanted to get out. We know that for sure.
I
Yeah.
learn more and more every day.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you find that it's hard to write a Bible story set in today's times?
I think that it was easier for me because I did not have to worry about being accurate about what they were doing at that time, and and stuff like that. So it was easier for me to bring it a little up to date. It was the 80s and 90s, which was an era that was my time,
Right.
that I was born in. So it was easier. Yeah.
Interesting. I like that you put it in the 80s and 90s, because
Yes.
that's when music was, music was hot back
Yes.
then and everything.
And
So,
there is music involved in the book as well, because she was into dancing. So
interesting.
yeah.
So, who did you write this book for?
I wrote it for me. I wrote it for me.
Really?
Yes, like I said before, when I wrote the book, I was caring for my mother, who had become ill with congestive heart failure, and I kind of wrote it to escape from what was happening with her. So it was just really writing, just like I said, just to get away. It wasn't writing with any intentions to sell or to make a book. It was just me creating a world that I can escape to. Yeah.
Interesting. Has your mother read it, or did you
No, my
finish?
mom, no,
Okay.
she passed away in 2017. So I ended the writing there. And I just, while I remembered while she was living, and I would be typing while she's watching her television programs, or Let's Make a Deal and all of that. She's like, "What are you doing on that computer? You always in that computer?" And I told her, I'm trying to write. I'm writing a book. And she said, "Well, you could do anything you set your mind to." So I remembered that, and I said, "This is gonna be a book. People are gonna read this book." So yeah. So I guess it was for me first, and then it ended up for her. This is for
Right.
her.
Did she have creative talents as well? Like, was she a writer or artist, or
No, you
how
know
did
what?
she express
No,
herself?
not at all. My mother did not have any creative talents at all, besides cooking, which is very important in the household. She did not. She could not sing. She could not really dance. No, I got all of that from my father, but she was very I guess no, she really didn't. She didn't have
Well,
anything.
look, cooking,
Yeah,
because that's a creative talent that I
yes.
choose not to express.
She
So,
did. She was good in the house. She was good at raising kids. She was kind and giving and loving. She can motivate you. So I guess those are all gifts as well.
yes,
But as far as artistic gifts, none, nada.
but you were able to pull from that and put it into
Yes.
your writing, so that
Yeah.
you could definitely
Mm-hmm.
give her credit
Yes.
for.
Awesome. Yes, because she gave us a great life, and what little we had, she made it all wonderful. So I had so many stories just from just from living in that house. Oh yeah, she was a good storyteller. She would tell us about things that happened to her um as she was growing up. So yeah. And
Hmm.
it was a period where, it wasn't the internet and all of that. So we had to live by our imagination. So I guess the writing kind of comes from that too. Kind of hear
Yeah,
something and you can make a story about it. Hmm.
I agree. I agree. It's a good gumbo for a good writer to have,
Ooh, I
like,
like that gumbo.
to hear good stories and be able to tell them and let your imagination run wild, and you were able to put it into a book. Now, I Am Rahab, is that your first book, or that's just a current book?
This is my first novel that I have.
Yay.
This is my very first novel. I did write a book some years ago called Finding God in the Kitchen. And that was me as a new Christian. And I just wanted to write about, and I'm also a baker. By trade. So I just wanted to write about my newfound faith and how I was just learning how to bake and to start a business, and the similarities of baking and Christian. Sometimes you're put in the
Mm.
oven, sometimes you're on the cooling rack, sometimes you're being whipped, So it was a devotional cookbook, and I had fun with that.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Now, question.
Uh-huh.
What is Diamond Daughters?
Ooh, Diamond Daughters is a nonprofit that we started in the early 2000s, 2009, something like that. It was generated from a conversation that I was having with my cousin. And as mothers, who's also a co founder, as mothers, we were talking about our daughters and our concerns about them maturing in today's world. And we were just discussing our fears and past and hopes. And we were like, somebody should do something about this, you know? And then we were like, we should do something. We should start like a group of women that can just sit down and talk, because it really does help just talking to one another. You think it's nothing, but it's uplifting, and something, you share resources, and we do this all the time as community and family. And it's just, we wanted to bring women together to help one another with resources, education, motivation, and equip them so that our children will be in a world that's smarter and safer and kinder. Yeah.
I love that, and I love the name. And there's something somebody said, I heard it somewhere, but if something bothers you, you're supposed to do something about
It's
it.
true. It's true. It's true. It's irritating you. To get up and do something about it. You're gonna just let it hurt, or you're gonna get up and bandage it, or do something about it.
And I think when we all look at our own little way to change the world, think about what's that thing that bothers you that may not bother other people as much.
Right.
So, congratulations with the baking, the book, the Diamond Daughters. But in addition, you have a publishing company. Or you have do you have like a twin or something like?
It would seem that way. And I guess we can be twins. She's my best friend since high school. We've known each other forever. we do things together. So why not take this next step together? When I finished writing the book, I sent it to her, Monifa. She read it and she's like, yes, let's do this. So we started the LLC, Just Mo Books. And we want to put out diverse books written for us, by us.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
And I am Rahab. Like, if you had, I would actually wear that.
We have it, girl. It's coming.
You have a shirt that's okay. Because I would wear it, and I know people that would like, wait a minute, Rahab, isn't she a prostitute in the Bible?
Yes.
So I would have to have like a explanation, a disclaimer,
it's
or
on the shirt. It's
okay,
on the shirt.
I need my shirt, because I could understand and relate, not with the prostitute part, but I could
some
relate.
of the things. Yeah, she was a loyal family member. She was humbled. She was redeemed. She was lost. She was, that's who we are. So that's where that title came from. I am Rahab. I'm not a prostitute, but I've been down some roads.
Amen. # amen. Did you? It's so interesting, and I can't. After I read the book, I'm gonna definitely have to have you back on, because the title in itself definitely, to me, makes me like, okay, I need to see what this is about.
Awesome.
I need to see it. So I have a connection with you. I could just hit you up, but the audience, they want to get the book, they want to connect with you and all of that good stuff. How do they do that?
Awesome. The book is available now on Amazon, and they can also hit me up on my website by subscribing to authorjcmiller.com, and social media handle author_JC_Miller, and that is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Yay. Now, really quick before we end the interview, because a lot of people have stories in them or see things another way and they want to write. What is a few words of encouragement you can give to the future writers that may be listening to the show?
Yes. Well, I always say to write for yourself, because like I said, I wasn't writing this for any other purpose. I just wrote it for escape. So write a story that you want to hear, and don't worry about trying to fit into molds. I understand that we want to we want to sell our work, but write something that you really enjoy, and write from your spirit and your soul. And before you know it, you're going to have so many different things already written. And that's about all I can really say about it. Just be free your mind.
And get the stories out of your head.
Yes. Just
that's
keep writing. Just keep writing,
Yay. Well, thank you so much, Queen JC. Guys, y'all go ahead and make sure y'all get the book and follow her and go to her website. And with that being said, pens and papers down, class is officially over. Make sure you subscribe to the show. And until next time, remember your past doesn't define you, it gives you definition. And what you do with that is up to you. Go to valenciagwallace.com and find out more about the Move Retreat, because queens need a break too.